Hey friend, welcome to Authentic Performance, the podcast. My name is Nat and I'm your host. At Authentic Performance, our mission is to provide education and advocacy for all athletes, developing awareness surrounding identity, purpose, and health, so athletes can live well beyond their sport. This week's guest is a sweet friend of mine who I met randomly in middle school at a science and math camp, Carissa Buchholz. We've stayed in touch, and it's been incredible to see her thrive at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where she's on the cross country and track teams. Carissa shares about some of the uniqueness of running as a sport and her journey both as a student and an athlete. I know you're really going to enjoy this conversation, so let's get to it. Well, Carissa, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. It's been a long time since we've talked, but I'm just so excited to get to hear some of your story because I know we haven't even really talked much about your journey in college athletics. So thanks for being willing to sit down and do this.
Of course.
To start things off, you can just tell us all a little bit about yourself.
All right. My name's Carissa. I grew up in South Lake Tahoe, which is like a small mountain town in like Eastern California. It's about 4 hours from San Francisco, so it's far away from bigger cities, I guess. And I grew up playing lots of different sports. I played soccer, I did gymnastics for a little while, and then eventually got into running, and now that's basically all I do. I grew up with, I have a little sister who's 3 years younger than me, and yeah, I don't know what else you want me to say.
Good start.
Okay.
So, yeah, can you tell us a little bit about when you started running, since that's like your main thing now, and kind of how did that
Yeah,
even begin?
definitely. I started running when I started middle school. There's a cross country team, and like first day of sixth grade, I was out there at practice. My dad, I guess, ran cross country in high school, and he was like, "You should try it out." Like, I was like we had like little mini like track meets, I guess, in elementary school, but they weren't like serious at all. They're just like for fun, and I always enjoyed those. And I think my parents always thought like that I would be somewhat of a runner. I don't really know. And then I don't know, like I found early success in that. I think I didn't, nothing crazy, but I was like always like pretty solid little runner girl from the start. And I think that like just grew like as I went through high school. I like got better and better, and I like loved running more and more. And I think then that sparked the idea of like, oh, I could go to college and run like that would be cool. Like I could get some of my school paid for while also like, I don't know, competing. And like I think like as a kid who like grew up doing sports, I always liked like the aspect of competition. I'm a very competitive person. And I think that drove me to like running as like a competitive sport, and then obviously that developed into my like drive to go to college and get a scholarship to run. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool too because running, like, even if you're not running for a team, like, there's tons of people in like their adulthood, I guess, that run like half marathons or marathons or
Yeah.
whatever. So it's kind of cool that that's something that you wouldn't necessarily have to stop even after that competitive,
Mhm.
season, because it is also like can be competitive, beyond
Yeah.
just a college team or whatever. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely like I've even talked to my coach about like, hey, would you train me for a marathon once I'm done with college? And like I see like all my teammates who've graduated, they're still like out doing like really crazy cool stuff with their running, and like it's kind of fun to see that that's something that doesn't necessarily have to end. Like my roommate, my current roommate, she's a pole vaulter, and it's her senior year, so she'll be done with her like all of her eligibility at the end of track season, so like in May. And she talks about all the time how like pole vaulting isn't something that she can just go out and do. Like her last track meet is like the last time she'll ever pole vault in her life, most likely. And I think that's something she's struggling with, like as she's approaching her last year. And I'm kind of sitting here like, well, that sucks. And I get it, because like there is like a certain like pride and like joy in like wearing the Cal Poly uniform, and that's like something that you'll never be able to do for the rest of your life. But running is still something that I can do for the rest of my life, and so as long as I stay healthy, I guess. But that's like the beauty of the sport, is like it is something that you can literally do until your like knees give out. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess,
for
but
sure.
yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so you mentioned like running for Cal Poly. So what has your experience been there? Both like just with the level of competition and then getting to play or run for a team at that level.
Wait, can you say that again? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So just tell us about your experience with Cal Poly, like what it's like to run at that level and just be involved in that program, I guess.
Yeah, so I came in and I had a different coach than I do now. So I think when I came in as a freshman, I came in with a coach who loves you as a person, loves you deeply, like and like wants you to succeed, but isn't like out there trying to shape you into like the next All-American kind of thing. And I think that was good for me as a freshman. Who came from like a high school where like running, like everyone else on my team besides myself and maybe like one or two people, like we they were all out there just to have fun. And I think this coach kind of like had the same spirit. Like she just kind of wanted you to like have a team and like enjoy that. And so I wasn't insanely competitive. Like I also, my freshman year, I struggled with injury, so I didn't get to race at all. And plus we had COVID, so we weren't even allowed at practice for like half the year. And then finally, like we were able to, and I didn't know the team. I didn't really feel like I had a space, like a place on the team at all. And that kind of continued through my sophomore year. I struggled, like I wanted to quit. I I just felt like college sports wasn't like living up to like what I had expected out of myself. Like I wasn't really accomplishing anything, and I was spending so much time at practice, and I was like, where's this going? Like I'm not competing how I thought I would, and like I don't know, I wasn't enjoying it. I think part of the problem was the coach. Like she just had like other priorities, and like I love her to death. I'm not trying to like talk bad on her or anything, but I think that like her interest was just like to be out there and be supportive, but she wasn't trying to like make us competitive with like the rest of our conference. And like I think so my junior year we got a new coach. Unfortunately, like I don't know. My sophomore year is tough because at the end of it, our head coach, who was battling cancer for a really long time, he passed away, and so that was really hard for me to deal with. I don't know. It was weird. There's a lot of things going on with our program, and I think like the whole program was in shambles, which I think is like I've realized like isn't an uncommon thing like among like just college athletics in general. Like you expect like this big like put together like program, and it's not like it. And I don't know, like obviously I'm speaking just from one program's perspective, but everything changed for the better my junior year. We got an incredibly talented like head coach who like built up in a great program at Ole Miss and came to Cal Poly to like raise his family. And his wife is now my coach. She coaches the women, and she's insane. Like she's incredible. Like I love her as a person. I love her as a coach. She values like your goals like in life, but then she also like she sees like your own potential athletically, and she wants to push you like to your limit, which is what I kind of wanted out of like a coach. And I think like the recruiting process, I had no idea what I was doing. I kind of just went into that like off the deep end sort of. But it's been kind of the like since now I'm in my senior year, I guess. So I've had like a year and a season with these coaches, and I've definitely like seen that change in like performance and like my own like like I've just grown more and more as an athlete, which like I just like that's what I hoped out of like college. Like I wanted someone to push me, and like that's why I wanted to continue running in college, because like you reach that more competitive level where like everyone's like out there because they love running and because they like want to see, themselves like and push themselves beyond like what they accomplished in high school. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope that answered the
Oh
question.
yeah, definitely. No, I think it's so cool how much of an impact that coach could have on you, and I think it does show like you as a runner, and you ran in high school and everything, like you can do a certain amount for yourself, but it's also really valuable to have coaches that are going to push you and encourage you, but also find ways that you can improve and grow. And I know a lot of people find fulfillment in their sport from that performance, so it's important to have that piece if you want to be at a competitive level, um to continue on in the especially the college level, like having that little
Yeah.
push, I'm sure was really valuable. So
Hmm.
on a more broad level, like not just your sport, what are some of the challenges that you faced in college? So as a college athlete, some of the things that maybe are more difficult because you're involved in a sport.
Um, well, okay, so I guess like if you take like running and my academics and like combine them all, like obviously like being a student athlete isn't easy. I think sometimes like they paint the picture of like they figure out ways to make your life easier as an athlete, but it's not true at all. Like if anything, like I work harder than most students might, just because of how like the time restraint that I have on like my like I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is like time management is like so much more crucial. I obviously don't know what it's like to be a student without my sport, but like I have to factor, like if I have an assignment to do, I have to factor in, oh, I have practice from 7 to 10, and then again from 4:30 to 5:30, and then I have to go home and make dinner and shower and like all those things, and then still have to factor in the like homework aspect. And I think there's a lot that people like an outsider doesn't understand about like just that, like, and also traveling, like with traveling, like you have to coordinate with all your professors, who a lot of them don't like that you're leaving, and they don't understand that like you have a sport, and like you're not ditching, you're like
Yeah.
you're doing it for your school. And like I don't know, it's just like it's a different lifestyle for sure. Like you can't like finding free time to just kind of do whatever you want to is really hard, because like you're either like training or sleeping or doing school and eating. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of the grind. Like that's the grind. And like it's a different college experience for sure. Like you have to be very disciplined, and with running, like you can't be going out, you can't be like doing all those things that normal college students do. And I'm not saying like everyone does that, but I think like there's a lot of things that you can't do, because like if you are as committed as you want to be to your sport. And like I think I don't know, um there's just always a challenge with like I think I like even though I say that I'm pretty good at time management, like there's days where I'm reminded again and again I still haven't mastered that skill, because it's so hard to like manage like being in like 12 to 16 units at a time, where you're in class and then you have a lab for 3 hours, and I don't know, you're just like you're constantly on the go trying to figure out like all the different like you just have to plan your day out. You're like, okay, I need to bring a lunch, I need to bring a change of clothes, I need to bring my running shoes, I need to bring another pair of running clothes, I need to like bring all these snacks, I need to be here for this appointment at this time, and then be here by this time for class. And I don't know, it's just like I feel like I'm always running all over the place, and like I'm sure it's like that for every college student in a way, but I think that being an athlete definitely adds that extra like level. And like I think that it's also the like exhaustion. Like you can't as like a student athlete, you can't stay up until 11 doing your homework or like stay up like pull an all-nighter to like cram for a test. Like it's just not feasible. So you have to like make sure you fit it in all throughout the day, which is just like I think something that it's also factored in. So I don't know. It's just definitely like it's a different lifestyle for sure. And I think every like college experience comes with its challenges, but yeah, being an athlete, it's been tough, but it's definitely rewarding.
Yeah. So you mentioned like nutrition, like making sure you have to, have snacks and food and everything, which I think is a really important point because like as a collegiate athlete, you're no longer really depending on like say your parents or those people to provide you know throughout the day, those making sure that you're actually eating. So what has that been like for you to kind of figure out how to fuel your body, especially as a runner? Like you're exerting a lot of energy. How do you manage both like food and nutrition and also sleep, like things that now you're fully responsible for as a college student?
It's definitely, I can't say that like the advice that I have to give about this is like perfect because I struggle with this still and I'm a fourth year, so it's like a constant like learning like like it's a constant learning thing because like every quarter you have a different schedule, and I feel like by the time you're done with your 10-week quarter you just finally figured out how to have your food schedule all figured out. But I think the biggest things that have helped me, even though like I don't always do these things, but I think overnight oats are a huge thing for breakfast because those you can make that the night before. They are easy to just throw in your backpack. It's just one container. You make sure you bring a spoon, and then I think like meal planning is huge. I usually just like for dinner I make like a massive meal that not one single person could finish. And then usually just use that for leftovers for lunch the next day. So I know that I have lunch and I don't need to like go home and make myself food. I have it with me and I can bring it with me if I know I'm not going to be at home all day. And then usually for dinner, I have time to like I like to have time in the evenings to like, I don't know, spend 30 minutes on making myself a decent dinner. And like, I do wish like we had a little bit more support nutritionally. And I think there's been a little bit more focus on that like in our athletic program to like we have like nutritionists we can reach out to if we have questions or like want like more meal planning and help with like making sure we're meeting all of our nutritional needs. So that's nice. But um I think like it's always a learning experience, and I think the biggest thing is just like always having snacks with you, like a granola bar, because sometimes those are the things that'll like tie you over and like top you off, like even if like whatever you had for lunch is just like um not enough. But yeah, it's like I think I'm still figuring out how to navigate feeding myself enough food because I think like athletes often forget, and I'm realizing this more and more, that like what you eat as like a normal person isn't gonna cut like what you need as nutritionally as an athlete, especially like for recovery purposes and like making sure you're getting enough protein, like especially after like strength workouts and stuff, and then yeah, getting enough carbs in to like replenish everything you burned after like a super hard training session. So I think like it is hard to like add that on top of your load of like just like training itself in school, and then yeah, and then still finding time to like go to the grocery store and buy everything you need. There's been so many times that I've gone and not bought everything that I need, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have food. And I don't know, it's a struggle, but I think um yeah, you definitely like you definitely just have to be prepared and plan out your day so you know exactly what you need to bring and what you will be hungry for, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. those are such good things to think about because I think you don't necessarily think about all of the details until you have to plan out your day like that. Like I
Yeah.
quickly learned that when I was playing, like I would have practice twice a day and I'm like I actually can't eat enough. Like I need to be eating so much more than I think I am because
Hmm.
as an athlete, especially at the college level, like if you're practicing once or twice a day and then have,
Yeah.
weights or, anything extra,
Hmm.
there's so much that it takes to fuel your body and especially the recovery piece
Yeah.
too. I think that's a big
Yeah,
one.
100%. Well, and it's hard sometimes to like I have off twice a week. I have to run twice in a day. And not like the second run's usually like 3 or 4 miles. It's not long, but that's like another like I don't like to have a bunch of food in me before I run. So that's another thing that I've had to navigate is like making sure that my lunch is something that I plan ahead for and plan to eat 2 or 3 hours before my run, and that it's something that like isn't gonna like sit badly in my stomach so that I don't feel like crap when I'm running. So that's like another just like piece to think about. And then yeah, like making sure that like if I have class after lift that I'm making like I'm bringing a protein shake with me or whatever it is to like tie me over until I get home and can actually make myself like a real meal. So it's like it's always a planning game for sure.
Yeah. What about rest? Is that something that you struggle with to get enough sleep, or do you have a pretty good schedule with that?
I'm okay. I used to be really bad. I used to like stay up doing homework because I think in high school you get used to doing homework at night, and I think that was like my like witching hour where I was like most productive because like I don't know, like that was like quiet time. Like I could just like sit in my room and do homework, and then I'd look at my clock and be like, oh my God, it's 11. Um, and I think that like I've learned just through like experience, I guess, that's just not like sustainable. And I've gotten better. Like I set myself alarms before I go, like especially so my workout days are Tuesday and Friday, and that night before I have an alarm set at like 9 that like says like Carissa, get yourself ready for bed. And it actually works. Like I think it holds me accountable because then I'm like, okay, like I need to stop what I'm doing and it's okay. Like it's okay to stop what you're doing and go to bed. Like because that's gonna help you feel better tomorrow. And if you like it overall like it's yeah, like rest I think like is more important than like I know your teachers will say this too, like you need to sleep before you like cram study more or whatever. Like obviously like when you have an assignment to do and you got to do it, like you got to do it and you got to stay up. But usually I try not to let myself get to that point, and like obviously there are times in the quarter where it does get there. I'm not going to say that I'm perfect at all, but um I think yeah, resting like it's hard when you're in college, and like there are days when like you just want to take a nap but you can't. um but yeah, for me like I think just learning that I can't function under like 6.5 hours to 7 hours of sleep. I usually try to get 8. That's my goal, but I mean, I don't know, it's hard, but like you cannot, it's not, you'll get injured, you'll like, you just won't feel good during workouts if you don't sleep. So I think like just from like learning that not getting enough rest is like not helpful has like taught me to be better about rest for sure.
Yeah, that's really good. So I want to shift
Yeah.
a little bit into more of the like entire college experience. So like socially, your life is very different than say a non-student athlete just because of your hectic schedule. So have you been able to kind of build community and meet people on campus, like kind of outside your sport? And then what does it look like within your team, like friendship wise or hanging out with people, that kind of thing?
I think I've built a lot of community just like within people in my classes. Like bio is a really hard major. And like you need people to study with. to like really understand the material and like challenge your understanding. So I think I made a few like solid like study friends sort of through just like having classes with them. And they're people like I can reach out to if I need help with homework or I'm always like, hey, like what classes are you taking like for the next quarter so that we can like take them together because it's always like way easier to have just like people you know in your classes, especially like once you reach your fourth year, like you realize like everyone kind of already has like their group. Like you sit in the classroom and you feel like you're sitting amongst friend groups when you're sitting in those classes because everyone already like knows each other. I mean, like biology is like not a tiny major at Cal Poly, but like you still like you start to get to know the people because you have classes with them. So, yeah, that's like kind of my community, I guess, outside of running or outside of like the team. And then on the team, like our team has a very like I live with like basically all like well, I live with one of my teammates and then I live with another like the pole vaulter I mentioned earlier. So I live with people like on the track team. So since I do cross country, that's a little bit of a smaller like community built inside the whole track bubble. Um, and track kind of has its own little cliques just based on events. And so like I'm definitely more like in tune with like my own cross country people a little bit. I think like it's kind of clicky in a way, like just because I think since we have our own sport like in the fall separate from track, we spend a lot of time together traveling and all that. So I think you get really close with the people, especially that you travel with. I think like I'm sure you can relate a little bit, like your travel team or whatever, like you kind of bond with because you spend like so much time together and you're in hotels together and I don't know, it's just kind of like a big slumber party, but like very serious and everyone's kind of under a lot of pressure. So you kind of learn to like lean on each other. And um I think yeah, so I think because like practice we spend like obviously like not the larger majority of my day isn't at practice necessarily, but I think like the large part of my like social part of my day is practice. So like the people that I'm spending time with, like running, and they're the people like they're my friends. Like all the people on my team, like especially my closest friends in college will definitely be like my teammates. Like I don't think like that's just kind of how like a student athlete lifestyle is built a little bit. Because we all like we relate to each other the most, and like we just like we just spend so much time together, and we go through some of the toughest workouts together, and we're there to support each other through everything. And like I think like I especially like I'm saying this, I'm thinking about one particular friend of mine or teammate of mine. Her name's Ellie, and she's an engineer, so she's an also like pretty tough major. And every day we debrief to each other what we have going on that day, and we talk about like what are you stressed about today, like. And she talks about like midterm she has got upcoming, and like I'll just like we'll send each other texts like, hey, like good luck on your midterm, like you got this, girl, like just go like power through, I believe in you. Like we understand each other and the struggle. I think we both understand the struggle of like finding time to study and finding time to like do all the things that we want to do because we both want to be good. We both care. Like I think we relate to each other because we both care a lot about school and like our grades and how we're doing, and we push ourselves in both running and school a lot. And so I think it's nice like for us to have that relationship where we both push each other to be good at school and running, and we're there to support each other through it all. So like I think I've definitely built like a really strong community just within my team, like because like we're all in this together, kind of like we all get it. It's hard to be a runner, and it's hard like to be at like Cal Poly is a pretty like I would argue it's a pretty academically intense school, and so I think like we all get that, and we all like know that there's a lot of pressure on it, all of us, like academically and like athletically. So it's nice to have like those people that like get you and they have the same values as you, and they just know, they understand your grind because no one else, like in my, like no one else, like just the people in my classes, they don't get it. They're like, I'm always like, yeah, sorry, I'm gonna miss this lab because I have a meet. Like, sorry to leave you to do all this stuff. Like, I don't mean to. I'm being a horrible lab person, but and I don't think they understand that I'm just like I have so much to do, like with my running and everything. So I don't know. But yeah, so sorry, that was a very long answer to a question,
No,
but
that's awesome. I think it's also
yeah.
really cool how like automatically when you go into a program, like you just have these people around you and like you said you're going through a lot of the same stuff, so it's almost like automatic that you're going to make friends within it. Like
Yeah.
which is really nice because especially like going into college, you're basically starting over with a whole new group of people that you
Hmm.
don't know. You don't know what kind of similarities, differences, interests people have. Like it is a stressful time. Like as a senior now, I was an orientation leader with a bunch of freshmen, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like I was there a couple years ago, but now it's so different. But during that first year, especially, like you don't know where you fit in. You don't know, what you're gonna do, who you're gonna meet, like who your friends are gonna be, but when you're an athlete, like you automatically get some of those people. And that's not to say that they'll always be your best friends, but you do kind of get a chance to meet people right off the bat and not, have to be so alone and isolated right off the bat.
Yeah, oh, 100%. I think like especially coming in as a freshman with COVID, like that having like that immediate because we weren't allowed to go to class, like we had online class when we were at
Yeah.
school, so it was weird, but we were able to like latch onto our teammates as our friends because we couldn't really make friends outside of like our dorm basically. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely nice to have that built-in friendship.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so I want to hear a little bit. I know that in your form for this whole thing, you talked a little bit about the dedication and discipline that your sport specifically takes. I mean, I know most college sports will be, a thing that you really have to commit to. But what's so specific about running, and why does it take so much dedication and discipline?
Well, I think um I wouldn't say that like running is like it takes more dedication than other sports necessarily, but it's definitely like you have to I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's like a sport that like you definitely like you can't fake it through like a running workout. Like you're literally like busting your ass trying to like get through like some of the toughest workout. Like I'm sure there like I obviously like I don't know obviously what it's like to like for instance play basketball in college and like what that's like, but you're running like 50 plus miles a week. You're putting in like tons of mileage. On top of it, you're like lifting, but you can't um like you like it I don't know. I guess um here's an example. So uh last Christmas break, I was at home and it snowed like record amount of snow during December. Like it was insane. I think like California just got hit with so much snow and so much rain. And I like literally was like freezing outside, snowing. I had to like shovel my driveway before I was able to like go out and go for my runs. And I running through like blizzards, basically trying to get through like trying to get done with like my weekly mileage and get in my daily runs. And it's I think it's harder to be like a runner because you're so much of it relies on your own like it relies on you doing something like by yourself. Um I feel like a lot, especially with team sports, like you have more of like you're doing it with your team and like obviously you're doing stuff outside of your sport without your team, but I think running is something you can't not do. Like not being around your team isn't an excuse. And so like I think when I'm at home, that dedication aspect really like hits me hard because it is a lot easier when you have your team around to motivate you and you have organized practice. But when you're at home and you just like, you're like, oh, I'm on break. I'm on Christmas break. I just want to hang out and chill. But no, I can't sit on my couch and watch TV. I have to go out, run twice sometimes. And like, I think it's just like, it comes out more when I'm at home because I think, um, at home, like you I think because I grew up here not doing the college running thing, when I come here and I change that lifestyle of what I used to do when I was at home, it feels different. And um there's just a different grind that comes with like having you really just have to have that what's the word? Uh like doing things without like people knowing or like I don't know.
Yeah,
This
like
is
doing
bad. I don't
like
know what
kind of
I'm
like
trying to say.
almost like doing the right thing when no one's watching, but it's like with your running,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah. What's the word for that? There's a word for it. I can't think of it right
I
now.
don't know. But I understand what you're saying. We get
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, that was a bad answer. Like I did not
No,
think
no,
that
all
one
good.
through.
Yeah, so leading into kind of that, what is it like having like highs and lows? Cuz like you've said like with your sport specifically, like there are a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So how do you navigate that specifically?
I think with anything, like you gotta dig into your why. Like why are you doing this? When I was talking about how I wanted to quit, like at the kind of middle of my sophomore year, I kind of was like, why did I choose to run in college? Like, why did I feel like I needed to like continue running in college? Because I could have just gone, done school and like it would have been fine. But I think like the reason I wanted to run was because I was like, I feel like I can do better than what I did in high school, and like I love doing this, so it's fun for me, and I just have bigger goals for myself, and I think I'm always setting new goals for myself, and that drives me to like be, I don't know, better, I guess, and how that's what goals I guess are there for, but um with like a high, like obviously you're gonna celebrate everything that you've accomplished and like everything that you did to get there, but you went through lows to get to a high. Like I think, and also like this is cheesy, but like obviously the lows are gonna allow you to define what a high is in a way too. Like I think I've gotten like two stress fractures in the time that I've been at Cal Poly. And so like those have been obviously lows for me because I don't like when you're not running and not doing your sport, that's like the hardest part of your sport. But I think that experience always reminded me like why why I love running, and also reminded me like that being able to run is a privilege. And then it makes me grateful once I'm back that I'm running again. So then I don't know. I think like the lows really highlight like what you love about your sport and what you miss about it the most. So yeah, and the highs just let you like recognize like all the hard work that you've done, and you have to then obviously like celebrate that, but then use that to motivate you to like, experience that again. Because that the highs are what we're all chasing with athletic. Like I feel like that's at least some of it. Some of it's like the process and like building yourself up, but then like a good performance, like a PR or like a good place at a big meet. Like obviously, like that's kind of what we're all like striving for at the end of the day, and that's what like. And I think our coach talks about this a lot. Like with running, like it's not running isn't easy. Most people like hate running. Like the average person's like, you run? Oh my god, that sounds terrible. Um, and so I sometimes don't want to run. Like running kind of does suck. Sometimes like I like waking up like in the mornings that I just don't want to do anything. Like the last thing I want to do is put on my tennis shoes and or my running shoes and go out for a run, but like it that's going back to kind of the like dedication aspect and just like the um having the discipline to just like get yourself out the door. Like it's like you just gotta like I don't know, you're still it's because you're chasing that you're chasing those goals, those highs, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So it sounds like in a lot of ways you find like purpose in running. What does that look like to both, have that uh elite performance or like striving for your best, but also just enjoying being a part of it? Because it sounds like, I mean, it is a really big part of your life, but not necessarily only for, the best times or whatever. Like you do enjoy that process. So what's it like to have a little bit of both?
Well, I think that especially like this past, so we just finished a cross country season like a couple weeks ago. And I think this season especially has kind of taught me like to like love the process. And and I think that's why I've stayed in running for so long. I love like that feeling like you get. I mean, everyone talks about it, the kind of high of like having accomplished like a hard workout or getting through like a hard week. Like it's not even like fun sometimes like in the moment, but then when you're done, like you push yourself. And I think like sports in general, I feel like teach you like the value of hard work and like the value in like kind of just like seeing something through and like um believing in yourself and pushing yourself and just like getting it done. um and obviously like performance like doesn't always work out exactly the way that you're like for me sometimes like a workout will show you that like you're in this fitness or whatever, and then you go and race and like sometimes that your race for whatever reason doesn't reflect the fitness that you're in. And so I think that's why you really have to still like embrace them like the embrace the process. Like you're um you're getting better every day, and like obviously like the workouts aren't like you're not getting any like recognition for how great you did during them, but like that has to come from yourself. Like you have to like recognize like wow, like you good job. Like you push yourself through a hard workout and like you're getting better every week. And I think our coach definitely helps like facilitate that a little bit. And like she is constantly like she's always like I sometimes stand there and I'm like, oh my gosh, you just gave us a really like when she's telling us the workout, I'm sitting there like, oh my god, like this is gonna be really hard. Like these splits are just impossible to run. And then she's always staying there like, Carissa, you need to believe in yourself a little bit more. Like I don't assign these splits because I don't think that you like I wouldn't assign them to you if I didn't know that you could do that. Like she like and I think that there's obviously that confidence aspect, but you have to you have to just like kind of embrace the challenge and just embrace like I love like that's but like I love workouts and I love pushing myself and realizing like wow, like you can do hard things and you can get through. And I don't know, I think that's just like I love chasing that like feeling of like wow, like I just did something hard and I totally killed it. So I don't know. That's
Yeah,
that's the fun part for me, for sure.
definitely. What was the process kind of like for you to learn to really love your sport? And like what's your relationship with it kind of now? Was that kind of a hard process to really love it, or have you always, been fully invested?
Well, I think like a lot of the love does definitely come from like success. Like you need I think like obviously that might not be something you want to hear. I don't know.
No,
But
that's true.
yeah, I think like a lot of like you're not gonna stay because I wanted like when I wasn't doing like basically my sophomore year, I wanted to quit at the end of cross country season because I worked my butt off during that season and didn't see any. I was like, no one's recognizing, like, I'm not being recognized for all my hard work, basically. Like, I just felt like I was putting all this hard work in and nothing was coming of it. And I think that's a big part of like the process converting to like success. Like obviously like it's nice to like be hitting splits that are like faster than what you were doing before, but you're not really gonna like value that progress until you actually see yourself race better. And I think for me, like part of falling in and out of love with running like has definitely stemmed from like a success standpoint a little bit, and also like battling injury like obviously like makes you kind of question like, oh, do I really want to go through this again? Like, do I want to risk um like injuring myself again? And so I think what brings me back, I think like what I I talked about this a little bit, but I think that what I really do love about running is just like the challenge. Like I love like challenging myself, and I think as just like a goal-driven person and a competitive person, like I need something that's pushing me to be better than I was. Like um and like I like seeing like the growth in me, like physically, like being able to like run better than I did last year is just something that like brings me joy and excitement, and like it gets me excited that like I will be coming back next year and like seeing just like where I am now and like how that can more is like exciting. And I think I think I love running because it's always like you can constantly challenge yourself to do better. And like obviously like it's a very like with running it's just like your time. Like obviously like, oh wow, like you dropped 10 seconds off of this PR or whatever. Like it's very like clear and defined like whether or not you're progressing. So it's but also there's other ways to measure that. You know, like it's also like, did you stay positive throughout a whole workout? Or um, did you not give up? Um, did you hang on to this teammate? Or did you know, like there's obviously different ways to measure that too. But, um, yeah, at the end of the day, I think what I has brought me back to running and has always like kept me like engaged and like kept me, yeah, in love with it is just the challenge that I just like the challenges it brings. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a goal chaser, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think I mean, I know that that's probably the story of a lot of athletes, like that competitiveness and like always
Yeah.
wanting better. Do you think that even after you're done with your competitive career, that will translate? I'm sure it already does translate, obviously, like you talking about caring about your grades and everything, but
Yeah.
in what way does that kind of translate into your life, or like even whatever you choose for your future career? What are some of the ways that they intersect?
Well, I think like I don't know. I think that sports in general just teaches you like you have to work hard if you want like to accomplish things like and be good at something. And I think that's something that like all athletes have in a way. Like I think that is something that puts them at an advantage in, or I'm not saying that people that aren't athletes don't have that. Like everyone, like it depends on what you're passionate about, obviously. Like I'm passionate about running and passionate about school, so I put hard work into those things. But um I don't know. I wait, what do you want me to ask? Can
Uh,
you repeat the
just
question?
kind of,
Sorry.
just kind of like how those, I guess, characteristics that you recognize in yourself of being competitive and like always challenging yourself. How do you see that? Just, I guess, applying to your life after your college career is done with running.
Okay. I think like just like going into like a career, or I guess that's the goal, obviously, or just in like even like if just in life in general, I think it'll, as like a goal driven person already, I think I'll always set goals for myself just in like what I want to accomplish in life and like what I want to do as like I don't really know exactly what career direction I want to do, but like I think if I want to accomplish something, I think I have the tools to like push myself to like get there. Um, just like, cause like sports teach you that like if you have a hard goal and like it seems kind of unattainable, like you kind of just have to like take baby steps and like put in the work slowly and it'll build and get you there. It just like it takes time. Like you learn that there's patience and like you learn to kind of embrace the process, I guess. And I think that's something that I'll carry through life. Just like setting little goals for myself along the way to a bigger goal too. Like I think that's a big part of um just taking what I've learned as an athlete into life and um yeah, I think that's
Yeah, no,
that's what I
that's
think.
that's really good. I
Yeah.
want to kind of, as we're wrapping things up, go into like our last little topic of confidence. So you mentioned it a little bit already. So what do you think the role of confidence is in sports?
I think confidence is everything. I don't want to weigh too much on confidence, but like in my experience, like if I don't race or if I don't go into a race with confidence or if I don't go into a workout with confidence, it usually doesn't the outcome isn't as good as I would like it to be. I think that in order to do anything, you have to like believe that you have to like that you can do it, and I think that's what confidence is to me. And I think that it's something that you have to build in yourself. And I I've obviously I've struggled with confidence. I've never been like great about it. I was just telling you about how like sometimes like the coach will give us our workout and I'm like, "No, don't. I can't do that." Like, "What do you mean?" Like, but I think you have to find ways to like take experiences that you've gotten yourself through and use that as like ways to motivate yourself to get through something similar. Like um basically what I'm saying is like you have yeah, like you've done something hard. You've done hard. I tell this to myself all the time. Like, Carissa, you've done hard things before. You can do it again. You know how to race. You can do it again. You've pushed yourself. You can do it again. You've done hard things. And I think it's hard sometimes to like weigh what makes racing especially hard is like you have to take all the workouts that you've done and just kind of like and perform in like one, I don't know, 3 kilometer race or whatever it is. And that puts a lot of weight on like that one event. But you have to like look back and be confident in like your training, which is a huge thing for me. Like I think a lot of my confidence stems from training and like what I have accomplished and the workouts that I have done and how I've like persevered through those and use that as like motivation to tell myself like you can do like you've done this so you can do this and like I think you have to carry that through like a whole race and you just like it's something you have to practice. It's not something that just like comes, at least to me, it doesn't come naturally. Or just like it doesn't just pop out of nowhere. Like I have to really like build myself up. So
Yeah.
in order to perform, but yeah.
What does do you, I guess, prioritize like positive self-talk either in training or also like in races? What role does that play in your confidence?
Definitely like huge role. Like I've noticed like I during races, especially races where I like do really well and am I have a good conversation with myself inside my head. I'm like telling my last race for instance, like I was like, okay, like I was running with one of my teammates and I was okay, just lean on Riley, like you can do this, like and I'm constantly telling myself like Carissa, you're fine. Like this hurts a little bit, but your body, you're fine. You can do this. Like I'm constantly like kind of like trying like when like one like small little like thought like oh like you can't, like, this is hard, like, this hurts. But then I try to, like, you always have to battle those little voices in your head that are, like, telling you, like, slow down. And, like, my, like, when it gets hard, especially, like, I come back to, like, mantras, like, do this for your team, or, you're almost there, you can do this, you've done this before, like, or sometimes I'm like, okay, this is, like, the last K rep that we did at the last workout we had, or, like, I, like, try to, like, find ways to, like, make things seem less complicated than they are, especially during a race when you just kind of feel overwhelmed as it is. And as soon as, like, you get stressed, you get tense, and you just don't race as well. So racing is all about trying to keep yourself relaxed for as long as you can, and a lot of that is 100% from, like, the way you're talking to yourself while you're racing. And, like, it also comes, like, you have to practice it during workouts, otherwise it's not going to come out during a race. And, like, during hard workouts, I have to tell myself, like, all right, one more 400, you got this, like, that's all you have to do, like, just keep up the pace until then. And, like, I will break up workouts into pieces to make it seem less overwhelming. Or I'm also just, like, trying to say, like, all right, just hang on to the person in front of you, like, you're almost there. Like, I think a lot, yeah, 100% positive self-talk all the way.
Yeah,
It
well, and
saved me for sure.
it's so crazy too. Like, I don't think it comes naturally to a lot of people. Like, I think it is really
Yeah.
something you have to practice. But it's so interesting,
Mhm.
like the things that you're saying, like, you got this, keep going. Like, a lot of times those are things that we naturally say to our teammates. Like, we are
Mhm.
very quick to encourage other people and very,
Yeah.
quick to criticize ourselves in the moment. So,
100%.
I think if we can, treat ourselves more like we treat our teammates. Like, even I've heard people say, like, uh, with negative self talk in general, not even only in sports, but just like thinking, negatively about yourself. Like, is that something you would say to, like, your best friend, or like your
Mhm.
sister, or something like that? And it's like, if you're not gonna say it to them, don't say it to yourself. Like, you've got to keep up the
Yeah.
positivity to,
Yeah.
yeah, just continue to, encourage yourself through those hard times, like you're talking about.
100%.
So perfect. Okay. So the last question that everyone on this podcast gets to answer is, what does it look like for you to live authentically?
Um, I think that just means, like, it's cheesy to say that, to say this, but, like, to, like, live, like, based on what you want to do, I guess. Like, um, to, like, embrace exactly, like, who you are and what you want out of life. I think it also, like, when I think of, like, authentic, I just think of, like your raw self, I guess. I think in, like, a life context, it I think it means just to own your reality. I think, like, you have to, yeah, just, like, do what you want, and, like, do and, like, be your whole self and embrace, like, everything that you are and what you stand for and what you value in what you do. And I think in your sport, that just means, like, just chase, like, do it for yourself, and do it for, like, yeah, do it for that little kid in you that, like, saw big dreams in yourself. Like, when you were little and um you have all these big dreams about, like, what you're gonna do in life. I think, like, living authentically is like living your life the way, like, little you would have wanted you to do, I
Yeah.
guess.
That's
If that
such a
makes
that's
sense.
such a good way to think of it. I've never even thought of it like that, but I think that's,
Yeah.
like, bringing out that inner child is so important.
Mhm.
Like, as kids, we were
I
so
think so too.
joyful, and, like,
Mhm.
you enjoy the sport, I think, a lot more when you're kids, and if you lose sight of that, it can be really hard, to keep going, because if you don't, like you said, if you don't have a why, if you don't know why you're doing it,
Yeah.
then it's going to be really hard to do it for a long time and perform well. So,
Mhm.
Awesome.
I
Well,
agree.
thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
It was
Of
so
course.
nice to catch up too. Like we haven't seen
Yeah,
each other.
I agree.
I will give anyone listening, the way that we met was crazy. What year was it that we went to Tech Trek?
Like, I don't know,
Were we in
2012?
Yeah, what grade were we in?
We're going into 8th grade,
Okay, yeah. So
right?
that's something like that. It was around middle school, but we
Yeah.
literally spent a week at a science and math camp together, and we were roommates, and that's how we met. And I still can't
Yep.
even believe that that's our story. And then got
I
to
know.
see each other a couple years later at a different like academic kind
Summer
of
camp.
conference
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so grateful to know you, and even though we
I
don't
know,
get to
me
see each other
too.
often, it's always
I
fun to
know.
catch up, and yeah, just super cool to see what you're doing at Cal Poly and have to
Oh,
follow
thank
along a little closer.
you. I know. I'll have to follow along too with what all your big goals are.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much again.
Of
This
course.
means so much to me.
Of
Okay.
course.
Thank you so much for listening to Authentic Performance, the podcast. We would love to hear what you found valuable in this episode, so send us a DM on Instagram at Authentic Performance or leave us a review on whatever platform you enjoy most. We want to thank you for your continued support of this project. It truly means the world. We also want to invite you to be a part of the Authentic Performance fam, so follow us on socials and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. For more information about how to get involved or to see how we're supporting athletes, go to theauthenticperformance.com. Finally, let us know what you want to hear on the podcast and who you want to hear from. We want to give you the best possible resources and support, and your feedback helps us do that. In the meantime, think about how you can live authentically. See you next time.